Great, Amin. It's great to see you again.
Hi, Mark. How are you?
I'm well. I'm well. Is it hot in Arizona?
It's getting there. I think we've seen the last of the cool weather. It's turning the corner here.
Summer is here. All right. Well, you know, I really wanted to get your perspectives on leadership and what we're doing in this series. So let me start right at it and say, from your experience, what's your perspective, your definition, if you will, of leadership?
Sure. Mark, I think if you would have asked me 5 years ago, I would have said leadership is all about strategy, clarity, and execution. I think in today's environment, especially with the millennials as they're entering the workforce, what people are looking for is something much more. And I think for leaders in organization today, purpose and culture, building cultures is so critical. For us, we're now a 15,000 plus people organization here at Sprouts. So no one, 5, 10 people can get the job done on its own. We're a customer-facing company, so with 15,000 plus employees, we've got to get people on board with what we're trying to do and the purpose of the company, the what and the why, I call it. What is it that we're trying to do? Why does Sprouts exist? And get people on board. And it's pretty powerful when you can have 50, 100, 200,000 people behind you, because now you've got 1,000 leaders in the organization every day who are interacting with the customers. And our hope and goal is really to get that across all 15,000 people. So I think in today's environment, when you have a low growth economy or a slow growth economy, just strategy and execution and corporate management doesn't cut it anymore. You've really got to be authentic. You've got to get in the field. And at the end of the day, people are looking for people who are honest, transparent, and care about not only the customer or the stakeholder, but also about the employees at the company. So I think you've got to round it out. It's got to be a combination of strategy, purpose, alignment, execution, tactical decisions. It all has to be there today in a pretty fierce competitive environment.
That's fantastic. In your lifetime, then, to be able to grasp that and implement that, you must have had one or many influencers on your career, in fact, your life. Can you name one that stood out?
Yeah, I think the world of corporate management, if you will, is starting to die today. And I would say the influencers, people who are influencers for me, are really fall into two categories. It's one, entrepreneurs, and two, people who know their trade. And on the entrepreneurship side, my grandfather and my father are both entrepreneurs. I've always grown up in corporate America, if you will. So they're terrific influencers. The founder of Sprouts is an entrepreneur. I call him a serial entrepreneur. And they just think differently. And I think they're huge influencers in the way I think about the business, the way I think about not only finance, but also the business itself. And then I think the second is, people who know their trade. And a lot of times people think it's got to be somebody with 20, 30, 40 years of experience of people who know their trade. But I really believe that you can learn with not only people with wisdom and experience who have more years of experience than you and I do, but I think it's also just as important to learn from young people who've got great ideas. And so I think keeping the eyes and the ears open at all time. I love a Bernabe saying, which is with an open mind and a clear heart, you can learn from anyone.
Yeah, isn't that the truth? And we're seeing that a lot, actually, with boards of directors now, too, about having a great diversity, not just like white, black, women type of diversity, but diversity including of age and knowledge and complementary. So that's a great point, and one of the best sayings ever. With respect to that, then, you've kind of touched on this, developing a winning culture, and I compare a lot of things to sports. You probably know that. Winning teams, whether they win the championship every year or not, they generally have winning records. So how does an organization develop a winning culture so they can have a consistent winning season?
Yeah, I think in sports, one of the differences between sports and sometimes working or running large companies is that in sports you have X number of people you're managing, whether it's 12 in basketball or 45 in football. At a company, when you've got 20, 30, 40,000 people who you don't touch every day, I think you really have to do a lot more than it's a lot more than a contact sport, no pun intended.
Right.
And I think what you really have to do is you've got to observe and listen. And from there, you've got to create a culture of discuss and debate. And once you discuss and debate, you make decisions and you act. But I think what's most important is in a fast environment, fast moving environment like that today, I always say in a high growth environment, almost anyone can be successful. But when you have slow and mid growth environments, not only being able to do the things I just talked about, but doing them on a routine basis, you don't set a strategy and then turn the strategy machine off and 5 years later turn it back on. I think you've got to go through this process on a fairly routine basis because people are looking for, at the end of the day, things that matter to them, that are important to them, not only once every 1 year, 3 year, 5 years, but it's important to them today. And they want people who are listening to them and who are acting them. And when I say people, I'm really talking about the customer, the employee, and any other stakeholder that you may want to name.
Yeah, no, I think it's brilliant. We talk about the word trust a lot with management of our clients, and it leads to a lot of good things, and it's an evolving process too. As you know, it doesn't just happen.
Yeah, and it takes a long time to earn trust, and it doesn't take a lot to break trust. So you've got to be authentic, and you've got to be open and transparent every single day.
Yeah, you're right. It's kind of like getting in shape. It takes a long time to get in shape, but man, it doesn't seem to take long to get out of shape.
Yeah, I know what that's about.
Shake hands. Who do you go to for advice when you got something going on?
Yeah, I think I use a number of different people. One of the things I've done for years has probably been for over a decade now. I actually talk to my dad when I'm on the way home every single day. When I jump in the car, the first thing I do is call my wife and let her know I'm on my way home. And the second thing I do is I call my dad, and it can be a 5-minute conversation or a 30-minute conversation about something that's going on. And it's really bringing that entrepreneur back in who can listen and ask the questions that it's very difficult to assess when you're inside the situation itself.
Right.
I think it's also trusted peers. When you have a lot of things that are going on within the company, you build bonds. And these are peers who may be at the same level above you or below you that you have a confident, you have a good feel for to bounce things off of. And then, as I said earlier, is wise business leaders. I'll reach out to my board members at times. I'll reach out to other people who I've gotten to know in business, a lot of former CEOs and board members. And I talk to them probably at least once a week on different matters that I'm trying to make decisions on.
Smart, very smart. So is there anything out there that keeps you up at night, as they say?
One thing that's fortunate at Sprouts, business has been going very well for us. So the day-to-day are fantastic. That's a tough question. If I had to think about what keeps me up at night, it's really when you get, when you're in senior leadership and you're responsible for so many people and their livelihoods.
Right.
It's part of Doug and I, who's our CEO. Our responsibilities is really continuously keep our eye on, I call it a 360 view. You can never have perfect knowledge and market knowledge, but you're trying to get short-term, midterm, long-term knowledge at all times. And I think if I had to pick one thing that says that that's a challenge, whether it's keeping me up at or night, I'm not sure, but it's a challenge is constantly be ahead of the 360 view one and to reduce and minimize the unknowns. That's not always easy, but I think that's really in leadership. You started with leadership. Part of leadership is not only figuring out where the puck's going, but also figuring out when you get to the puck, who else is going to be at the puck, and making sure that you're able to navigate accordingly.
Well, I appreciate the hockey analogy for my benefit. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
I know we talked a little bit about the unbelievable work you and apparently your family have done, and you're going to South Africa and other countries. Can you tell us briefly how you are making a difference out there in the world?
Sure. I think the difference is in the work environment. I can kind of touch on it in two senses. Is in the, they're so different in the work environment. I call it, you're really a coach. It's funny. We started down these analogies of sports, but in leadership, that's what it's about, is really being there for people to ask questions or advice. And when you're in a game, you don't want to criticize people. You want to be there to motivate them, because there's nothing like having somebody who's struggling and further criticizing them. That's pretty demotivating. We've all been there in our careers. And so really from making a different standpoint every day at work is just being there and leading from behind, which is easier said than done many a times. But I think that's really the goal. And I always tell people is if you're a great leader, you could be gone for a month or two and things continue to move. And And I told my team earlier this morning that I'm gone for about a month traveling, and we'll see how things go. But I have full trust in them. And then outside of work, I spend a lot of time. Education's my passion, and really I do it two ways: by serving on the not-for-profit board that I mentioned to you, serving there, but also every weekend I typically take 2 to 3 calls of early career professionals, people who are either in the finance field or around the finance field, or maybe just other fields. But what gives me a lot of joy is that I've learned a lot over 18, 20 years in my career, and there are probably things I could have done better to the aha moments or the career accelerators. And I love spending time with early career professionals and really helping them out and how to think about their career and how to really move forward and accelerate the career. So those are my 2 passions.
I love it, and it's invigorating when you're working with one of them that you see wants it so bad too.
Yeah,
which is great. All right, a couple of quick questions, I guess. And you've heard this one before too. You know, someone past, present, that's a leader you've admired that you quote unquote like to have dinner with.
You know, it's I would say that's a pretty tough question. I would say it's a business leader, but it's not for his business accomplishments. It's Warren Buffett, but it's not because he's accomplished in the business world. But I think it's really a combination of, one, the simplicity in which he lives his life, the honesty which he lives his life, the way he treats people, and the fact that even at 82, 83 years old, keeping mentally sharp every day and doing what he's doing because he loves doing it, not because he has to do it or he wants to do it. And really for somebody like that who's running 150 companies and really talking to only his CEOs once a year through a letter or maybe a 10-minute phone call, it's pretty incredible to watch somebody like that who's so successful yet be so honest, simple, yet driven every day in their lives. So I would love to have dinner with him.
I'll try to see if I can set it up for you. Okay, what's your favorite sport?
Oh, I used to have lots of favorite sports when I was in high school, but ever since college and then thereon from working, having kids, etc., I would say hobbies, sports-wise, I don't think I have one. Like I said, I really enjoy talking to people and helping people. And if I had to pick an absolute activity I love doing, it's going to a funny movie where I don't have to think for a single second, because I do that enough hours of the day.
I could relate to that. So speaking of movies then, what's your favorite movie?
Caddyshack.
Oh, wow, that goes back. Nice.
and that would probably fit the criteria of you can go in and laugh and not think for a second.
Absolutely. Do you have a favorite TV show at all?
I probably haven't watched too much TVs with the NBA games going on right now. I enjoy competitive sports, so I enjoy watching them around the playoffs when it's down to the 4, 6, 8 teams. It's really fun watching the level of competition and the competitiveness that these guys come up with every day.
That's for sure. These guys are stallions at that level. Absolutely. The intensity is incredible. Do you have a favorite type of music?
I used to play on the Houston Symphony as a backup, and so I played in high school. So I love I like opera, but I also like just symphony music, things that are just where I can sit back and just relax on.
No, it's awesome. And while you're relaxing, what type of food do you like to eat?
Oh, unfortunately, it's seafood. It's everything I see. So,
nice.
Yeah, it's always a tough pattern. I kind of kid around with food, even though working at Sprouts, working for a health food company, I should be eating probably healthy all the time. Yeah. But I cheat a lot. So.
Well, now we have that on public view here. So you'll have to be more committed or whatever. I don't know, but
excellent.
But hey, really, I really appreciate your perspectives, your insights. It's great to see you again, and let's chat again soon.
Okay, fantastic, Mark. Thanks.